The English Teacher YouTube channel, videos for success in English 103 and English 104. Everyone, and welcome back to the English Teacher YouTube channel. I wanted to make sure that you understood how to cite a database source or a source from a database, those materials or those places that you're going to in English 104 to make sure that you have the proper sources coming from the proper places. So generally what you're looking for in the databases are either scholarly sources or trade journals or even magazines and newspapers, but nonetheless, they're coming from particular places. So what you'll notice on my screen is that I have three tabs open. These resources are available to you on Moodle. So we have Night Citation Service, we have the Purdue OWL MLA Formatting and Style Guide, and then we have the Saginaw Valley resource that were introduced to you last week. So what I want to do is I want to show you each place on these that you need to go to in order to find samples and the setup or formula for citing something from a database. So if we start here with the Saginaw Valley State University Writing Center resource, you'll notice that one thing that you need to make sure that you're doing is identifying that you have certain amounts of elements within a anthology as well as within a database source. So the best thing that you can really do here is click on element 3 and let that expand. So that's the third item down. And what you'll notice is you get formats and you get examples here where you have nested containers. So for instance, the two containers is what we're looking at for the types of sources that come generally from a database. So in this first example, you'll notice that we have material culture. This would be either a trade journal or a magazine, and then we get another one, another container here that is JSTOR, and that would be our database. So what we have are journals or magazines or newspapers nested within the actual database, and that's why we have two areas within these entries that have italics, because containers are italicized here. If you look at the second example in underneath the two containers side, you'll see the Village Voice, which is a magazine or newspaper, and then you get the database listed here. ProQuest Research Library. ProQuest is one of those that we have access to at SMC. So again, we have the two containers, and so when you're dealing with something in a database, generally you're going to have two areas where you need to italicize something. And you'll italicize those containers, and it will go author, followed by the article title, followed by the journal, magazine, or newspaper title, the publication date, the page number, then followed by the database name, the URL or DOI, and then many instructors will want you to include the access date as well. And just remember that as you go through, the article title is in quotation marks, and then the containers, the magazine, journal, or newspaper title would be in italics, as well as the name of the database that you're in. So if we look at the next tab that I have open, which is the MLA Formatting and Style Guide, and you look down the left-hand side, you'll notice that on this left-hand side, we have a place for MLA works cited electronic sources, because many of you will be accessing these databases on the internet and through SMC Wired. You want to make sure that you click on this electronic sources and you scroll down a ways on the page. You'll notice that up here we have formulas for web pages as well as websites. And then we can continue to scroll down, and then you start to get to the area with web magazines, scholarly journals, and the one that we're looking for is an article from an online database. And so you'll notice we get two examples. Right here, it gives us a little description of what you should be doing at this point. But you'll notice here that we have two containers which are italicized. and then we get that information that's following that we saw on Saginaw Valley. Now, the only difference here is you'll notice that these are using the DOIs, which are digital object identifiers, versus the URLs. If you're able to find a DOI, which often you'll be able to within databases, it'll be under the details area of your sources. You want to make sure that you preference that over that of the URL. And so you'll notice that note right up here in the description on Purdue OWL. Okay, so there's two more examples that you can follow. And then the last one, the last tab I have open is the NightSight. So I want to make sure that you understand how to use NightSight to cite those databases. So when you're looking here on NightSight and you're set up in MLA, you've got the basic book that it defaults to, but you want to make sure that you're scrolling down here and identifying the type of source that you're working with. And that would be either a periodical, a journal, magazine, or newspaper, most likely if it's coming from a journal, or it's coming from a magazine or a newspaper that you found within the databases. So you're not going to find databases on this list, and that's because what will happen is it's going to ask you that within the generator itself in the middle of the page. So when we look at, say, a journal article, we would click on that, we'd fill out all the information. So maybe you have your article title, and then you would have your journal, such as, you know, some academic journal or some trade journal, the Harvard Review, something like that. And then as you move towards the bottom of the page, this is where you want to make sure you're clicking things and you're adding things in to get that to expand. You want to make sure that you found it online. If you did so, you click on that. Then it's going to prompt you with the DOI and explains what that is, and then you can add it. But if you don't have it, it will prompt you to add the URL instead once you change that box. This is the trick to getting that second container that we've been seeing in those other resources that we looked at before this. And so when it's asked if you found it using a database, you want to change that to yes. And once you do so, it will open up the area where you can add the database, and then you fill out all the information and hit submit, and it will give you the proper form need. Remember, with using generators, though, you ultimately are responsible for what ends up in your paper, so make sure that you are checking them with resources like Saginaw Valley or the Purdue OWL or any other resources that you find that are reliable. And of course, make sure that you always reach out to your instructor if you do have questions. You can reach out to the Writing Center as well. But hopefully you found this helpful with citing databases, and it will help you with your assignment associated with that, okay? Take care, guys.